What's it like to work at Kneupper Covey? I'm Kevin Kneupper. I'm one of the founders of Kneupper Covey, along with my partner Cyclone Covey, which is his real given legal name. And I want to talk to you today about what would it be like to be an attorney here at Kneupper Covey. What do we do? Who are we? Because and this video is done as part of job applications. You probably found this from a job application link. If you just randomly found it on YouTube, well, that's why I'm doing a video about what it's like working here. So at a very high level, Kneupper Covey is a consumer protection law firm. So we do essentially anything that's in the sphere of some business being not very nice or not very good to their customers. We take those kind of cases. It's pretty broad. There's a lot of leeway for us. We do give our attorneys a lot of leeway in picking what they want to work on. Usually in their first year or two, they're kind of getting to know the practice. But as you get older, you can do a lot more, and you can do it pretty fast if you get the experience. We find that if we give our attorneys, even if you're just starting out, you can pick up enough pretty quickly to be able to do an arbitration at a minimum, and then from there, you're off to the races. We do a lot of mass arbitrations. We do class action lawsuits. And one of the things that's kind of unusual about our firm is that we also combine that with a large docket of individual cases that aren't really part of a mass arbitration. They may be the same law involving one, but they're really just random people who have cases that could range from a few $1,000s to $20,000 or $30,000 in value. I'll get into that a little bit more later in the video, how that works, but it's something that we find really important, not just for your ability to kind of feel fulfilled by helping someone individually, but also for the younger attorneys who start and work with us. It is a great way to get experience, to be kind of let loose on your own cases, where you're able to make mistakes, you're able to learn, and we can kind of be there as a safety net, but still let you do pretty much the whole arbitration. So the other sort of big thing about our firm is that we are all remote, and we are very sort of, with my partner, kind of ideologically and passionately committed to being remote. My partner, Cyclone, before COVID even hit, he had a startup called Agile Law that he still runs that was designed to allow people to do remote depositions, to not have to lug around exhibits, to be able to avoid traveling to depositions. And so he was kind of ahead of the curve. Definitely, I'm a convert for sure to the concept of doing remote work because it's saved me a lot of travel, made my life a lot better being an attorney versus when pre-COVID we were all just flying around all everywhere, often to no real purpose. So we do not have physical offices. We have one in Georgia. Our attorneys don't go there. So you don't have a place where everyone's going to work. We have people all around the country. We kind of had to be remote when we started, which was, again, before COVID. My partner is in Georgia. I live in California. I'm originally from Texas. But now we have people in Pennsylvania, in Texas, in Georgia, in California. And it makes it a lot, it's a lot easier to get good people. If you go look at our firm's website, you'll find that we've recruited some very strong people. If you work here, you're working with very smart attorneys. We've got people from Yale Law School, from Stanford Law School, people who've done very good clerkships. And so that's one thing that I think is a big benefit, or I find it a benefit, when you're working around smarter people who are passionate about the law, and passionate about helping consumers. It's more enjoyable. And I'll maybe tell you in a second about my experience at working at a larger law firm, and kind of how those, you probably already know how those work. So that brings me to sort of my partner, who he is, who I am, kind of who we are. And that's important if you're going to any law firm, especially we're a relatively smaller law firm right now. We are growing, we are adding positions, and we're looking for full-time attorneys. If you saw an ad, it probably is a full-time attorney position where we're looking for people who already have a bar license and can just get up and start running. And that is how it works when you're at a smaller law firm. It's a little harder you don't know when you're recruited. But who are we? Because you want to know that, you want to know who you're working for. It affects your life a lot if you just realistically. I did patent litigation for a long time. I went to law school at the University of Texas. After that, I did a clerkship in New Orleans on the Fifth Circuit. About half my clerkship was spent in evacuation from Hurricane Katrina because it hit 3 weeks after I moved to New Orleans. So it was a very interesting experience. Didn't really get to see the city in its full glory or as it was, but it was something unique, I guess, to kind of go through. After that, I went to a law firm in Texas that was one of the best patent litigation law firms around. It probably still is, but I was there at the height of kind of their period when they were going to the Eastern District of Texas. They were winning lots of $100 million verdicts. I did a trial once a year, big complex trials, and we were winning big amounts in the $500 or $600 million. Of course, when you're younger, you don't see any of that, or not much of it anyway. So, but it gives you a lot of experience, or gave me a lot of experience in doing that. And most bigger firms don't really have kind of a bonus plan where you would benefit that much from that. I would say, and part of, I guess, why I'm explaining this background is there's a lot of things that I would believe in changing about the way most law firm models work. And so now that I've started my own firm, I can. One of those is the whole idea of you work on a case and you're one of the key people on it, and then you don't see any money at the end. So we've adopted a bonus plan. If you come work here, you can, or even interview here, you can see that. And we think it's very generous compared to most other law firms, and it's designed to make sure that people that you, when you take ownership of cases, really, if you work on a case, whatever hours you're realizing means that you're getting money back. Usually in a consumer case, that's through fee shifting provisions, that you see a portion of that. I worked at that firm, and there were other things just in general. It's not necessarily a knock on them. It's just the way that law practice works in general. I don't really like. We've gone away from what law firms used to be. It used to be very much a profession, or you had apprenticeships, you learned, then you became your own person, then you were doing your own cases, you were running them. That doesn't really happen at bigger law firms. And one of the upsides of the firm I was working at is that I got lots of trials. One of the downsides is that you hit a point where you really you don't get to stand up that much. You can do it a few times, but the senior attorneys in their 40s, 50s, 60s are all fighting for those the spotlight is the way to put it, and they aren't necessarily willing to share it, and because that's their career that they're looking out for. Part of how we've structured our firm is designed to make sure that younger attorneys can get the same kind of experience, because arbitrations these days in consumer cases, majority of cases are going to arbitration because of various Supreme Court cases that are I don't really disagree or don't really agree with them, but that's what the law is, and you're kind of stuck most of the time. But an arbitration is done on Zoom. It's very similar kind of structurally to a trial. You get a lot of trial experience. You get to stand up. We actually let our younger attorneys do media appearances. We've had one of our attorneys in Georgia. He won an arbitration, and so he got to go on the local news. His parents watched that news channel, so they got to see him, bragging about his arbitration and how well he did, and he did a very good job on it. And then we have another attorney out in California who recently was interviewed by the Los Angeles NBC affiliate because of a class action that she's kind of the lead attorney on, and she's 5 or 6 years out. So, and that's pretty young to be handling, with training wheels or safety wheels, maybe is the best way to put it. She's getting to do that, and they're getting to get that experience to build their careers, to have ownership of what they're doing, and sort of autonomy over what they're doing. That's something that I also kind of didn't like out of the bigger firm model, is that when you don't get autonomy, when you don't get the chance to make your own mistakes, you don't get the chance to develop as an attorney. You don't get to build your own career. So we let our attorneys pick, to a large degree, what cases they're working on. Once you have experience to know what they are, we have tons of leads, as you can see. This here, I have trouble pointing the right way on these videos sometimes, but this is like a YouTube format. I do lots of YouTube. I'm on TikTok. We're on the internet advertising. We're a consumer-facing firm, so you're dealing with not big law firm clients. It makes the experience very different, and I think a lot more beneficial in a lot of ways. The kind of key differences, I guess, for how, and it matters for your life, I guess, if you came here, if you're being recruited, or if you're just considering, do I want to apply here? When you work for a consumer, it's different from having a general counsel who's a lawyer at some, giant company who's sending directives to your boss, who's a lawyer at your firm, who then their career depends on keeping that client relationship because that's their money source. And so that's why a lot of these New York firms are like, go work on Friday night, go work on Saturday night. Mine was a Texas firm, but you get a call on Friday night. They're like, you're working this weekend. Oh, you're all coming in on Thanksgiving. And the attorneys are very much like that because the stuff rolls downhill is the way to put it. And they will not risk those client relationships over your weekend plans. When your client is a regular person, we get thanked so much for the cases that we worked on. They are very thankful to have us. We're in an area that's underserved, so there are not a lot of consumer protection firms. There are many states that don't even have lawyers who do these kind of cases, where they could be car title cases, they could be banks that are holding people's money really illegally. We have solar panel disasters going on. We have just all kinds of things. We're suing people selling fake courses on YouTube. We've done that. And just things that our attorneys get interested in that we get calls on from me doing these TikToks or these YouTubes or whatever. You get to see what are called leads, a list of people's, here's my situation, and they want our help, and they thank you so much for the most part for having it. You get a lot of fulfillment that way, I think, helping regular people. There are individual people who you're fixing the main thing going wrong in their life. You're keeping them from falling an economic class, essentially. You would not think sometimes if you're from the middle class or upper middle class, and that's kind of the range that I was in growing up, you maybe don't think, and I didn't realize until I started my firm, how much a few $1,000s can ruin someone's life. If someone can't drive their car, like I give this example because we have a mass arbitration on this, on car titles that people weren't getting when they bought their car from several online dealerships. If you don't get the title to your car, you can't legally drive it. If you don't have a few $1,000s to go get another car or at least arrange alternate transportation, you lose your job, then you lose your apartment, then you lose your life. And we see people having that happen to them. We see elderly people whose houses are getting foreclosed on from contracts that we can prove they didn't sign from some salesman, like filled out their name on a form. We have people in very serious situations, or their bank account gets shut down. Imagine you have a few $1,000s, that's all your money in the world, and now you can't get it. And you maybe don't know how to navigate that system. So you get a lot of fulfillment from helping people, but you also, those clients are not on you the way that a general counsel at a giant corporation would be. Sometimes they are, because people who are desperate, people who have no money, they're freaking out. But they're not mad at you, and they're not demanding you do certain things. They don't know what to do. So you're the one, more like in a doctor position, you're advising them. You know what to do. You try to help them, and they rely on you for that. But it's a lot less stressful because it means there's no individual client where my partner or I have to go like freak out about losing the business relationship with them. There's not a lot less stress on that type of thing. You control your schedule a lot more. We don't have set hours because we have people on different coasts. That sort of part of the remote thing is that with the remote, everyone's working different times. That's fine as long as the work gets done. Now, how did my partner and I start the law firm? So I did a number of years, probably too many years at the law firm. I was starting to have health issues, actually, minor ones, but like carpal tunnel, there's my hand again, carpal tunnel, that's mostly gone away. But even I'm, 6 or 7 years out and still sometimes have pain from just having to sit there and work that long. I was having back pain, and it was getting serious enough that at one point I was kind of just like, I just need to take a break. So I took a couple years off. I did a sabbatical to just mess around doing writing. I moved to California, and I'd kind of sworn I'm never going to do law again. I was in the classic burnout phase where I'm like, I'm just done, don't want to deal with this anymore. Thought that I had kind of lost the passion for it. And after a couple years had passed, I started realizing I got involved in like a pro bono thing where I was helping romance authors who had been sued over the trademark cocky. There's a yes, and this author had trademarked it and was trying to stop people from using it in their titles, and I went and kind of had a big legal fight about that and got sued and resolved it. But doing that kind of made me realize, like, hey, I don't have to work on the types of cases I was working on. I can do things that are more entertaining or interesting or help people. I can, it's not the passion for law that I've lost. It's that I didn't like the work environment that the business structure of these larger law firms forces on you because of the way their business is structured. It's really just all the corporations. The way that structure happens means that the business structure for the law firm is necessarily built around jumping whenever they're told to jump, and you're the one that actually has to do the jumping. So I started in kind of randomly, because I'm just poking around. I was running across advertisements for internet scams called the free trial scam, which is a thing that was targeting elderly people with fake Oprah endorsed this a keto diet or a fidget spinners or some of the things they're getting. They tell them, oh, we'll give you a free sample for a few bucks and just give us your credit card and then you're fine. And then they find out they're getting a $200 a month subscription that they were never told about. So my partner Cyclone and I used to debate together at Wake Forest University in North Carolina. We have been friends, ever since. It's been 20-year plus friendship. He was kind of looking to do new things at the same time because he's got these business opportunities. He's always looking around for good things to do, and he has a passion for law from the passion for debate, which both of us do from doing that. And we just started investigating it, started looking into, can we find these people? We ultimately did, after long writing software to try to track them down, going to conferences, doing various things, found different people that we sued in RICO actions. That was kind of the founding of our firm. As we grew, as we started settling cases, we started adding attorneys, and we're now up to 3 attorneys working with us. We have some other people who are doing intake and doing other things like that, but we are looking to add people right now. And the RICO cases, a few of them are still going on. It really taught me you could sort of get out of your chair. You don't realize that when you've worked that long in a big law firm, you think, oh, I just have to sit here and do what people tell me. But when you get your law license, it's a license to go sue people doing anything you think is wrong. And that's something that both of us started realizing as we were talking to people who were calling us. We're realizing that there's a lot of need out there for attorneys who are smarter, who are from the better law schools, who are like the people at the top law schools. You go work at Goldman Sachs. That's what happens. Like the Harvard people, and I'm sure if you're watching from Harvard or Yale or one of those places, you're going, well, yeah, a lot of people do. They go work at a giant law firm, and then that's who your client is some company like that. And at the end of the day, that's fine. You got to pay your student loans. Like I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but at some point in your career, you come to a moment where you're like, is that what I want to do? Is that what I want my legacy to be? Is that what I want to have accomplished with my life? And do I really want to live that way? And I think that the path that I came on, and that we've built our firm around making sure that we don't ever end up creating that kind of environment. I think that we have a very relaxed, very happy environment. Some of our associates have described it as a lifestyle firm. We get a lot of people who have significant others who have moved, and so when you're remote, it makes it easy. If one partner is free to just go anywhere in the world, really, kind of. I mean, I kind of think you probably could do that if you had a good enough internet connection. Sometimes there is travel from when a court makes you go someplace, you have to. Arbitrations are almost all Zoom, so we really don't have to do a ton of that. But we think that we have a very good environment. It's an environment with a lot of smart people. It's an environment where it is a lot more fulfilling. We do pay better than nonprofits. We have a very good base salary that should be in the job post. We have, and it's especially good if you can just pick wherever you want to live. You don't have to live in the most expensive areas. And we do have what we think is a very solid bonus plan that carves out a large chunk for the attorneys actually doing the work and getting the recovery in these cases. So hopefully that gives you at least a background of who our firm is, gives you a little better ability to decide if you'd want to interview with us, if you'd want to submit an application. We get a lot of them. It is very competitive. We have a lot of people who are very, very talented applying. But that's kind of the goal, is that we want to, even if we don't accept you, one thing I would just say is, in terms of like advice from a lawyer who's been through the whole sausage factory they send you through, is that you should you don't have to plan on being a partner at one of these places. Maybe even if you watch this video and go, I'm not really ready to come to them right now, or even don't want to come to our firm, one of the biggest things that could change the way that all the really not very good things going on in our society, especially economically, would be if more lawyers stopped working for Goldman Sachs and started either starting their own firms or working for firms like ours, or just getting on the plaintiff's side of the V, as they call it, and picking cases where you think that you're doing justice, that you're doing something good. That's what we try to do here. We try to help people grow in their careers to be able to do that, and I hope that some of y'all are interested in applying.